making this 10mm cabochon ring here with some lovely crystals on the outside. It's very comfortable and it's the perfect size for making into a pair of earrings as well, or using as a button clasp on a piece of jewelry. So go ahead and check out the description below and gather the materials so we can get started. We're going to begin the ring by creating a base on which our cabochon will sit. We're going to make that base with a series of 8 RounDuo Minis with one 11/0 seed bead in between. So I have here my DragonThread, and this is a medium weight size 6 DragonThread. I have it in the crystal or white color here. And then I also have my needle, which is a size 10 needle. You can use any size needle you're comfortable with up to a size 10. So as I said here, I've got my RounDuo Minis, and I've already strung them on my thread. And I've picked up one 11/0 in between each one of the RounDuo Minis. And then I have one here at the end. So I'm starting with my RounDuo Mini and ending with my 11/0. You should have 8 RounDuo Minis as well as 8 11/0 seed beads. I'm going to pick up this string of beads here, and with the tail thread here, I'm just going to wrap this tail thread around my fingers here just to hold that tight. I'm going to pick up the very last few beads here, and these are actually the very first ones that I picked up. So I'm going to bring my beads around into a circle here, and I'm going to pass through, start all the beads again, starting with the first ones. So you can see here, as I start to pass through them again, it's going to form a circle. And just continue through all of the beads through the same holes, because those RounDuo Minis do have 2 holes. You're going to continue through that same hole, just following your thread path until you get back to the beginning. And here I am, close to the beginning. So I'm going to take a look here, and this is my RounDuo here, where my tail thread is coming out here to the left. So I'm going to continue, I'm going to pass through that RounDuo Mini, and with my tail thread coming out through my tail thread's coming out through the right, and I'm going to have my thread that I just passed through come out to the other side to the left here. And what that's going to do is just allow me to give it a nice tight pull and get rid of any extra thread, any slack that I have between the RounDuos and the 11/0s here. Now I'm going to start with a right angle weave in the center. Coming out of my RounDuo Mini, I'm going to pass through to the next 11/0 seed bead. And I'm going to pick up 3 more 11/0 seed beads. These 11/0 seed beads are they can sit on your needle, or you can push them down off your needle onto the thread. I'm going to take my needle and pass back through my 11/0 in the same direction, so that as I pull my thread tight, again, I'm forming a little circle, or because I have 4 beads, it's going to look like a little square of seed beads. And I'm going to push this little square or diamond of seed beads to the inside of the project. Each little right angle weave unit will have a top and a bottom and a right and a left. Your bottom bead is going to always be the bead that sits between your RounDuo Minis, and then your right and left bead, of course, are going to sit to the right and left, and your top bead is going to sit directly above that bottom bead. Pass through the next 11/0 which will be the right hand side 11-0 in that right angle weave unit. These right and left side beads we're going to be sharing with the unit directly to the right or the left of each other unit. So each of these side beads will be shared. So coming out of my right bead here, I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0s. And now I'm going to pass through the 11-0 between my RounDuo Minis, just to the right here. And I'm going to pass through in the direction where I'm actually taking my needle from the right to the left. So I'm pulling it through my project, through my bead, in the direction of the first unit, so going in that direction. I'm going to go pass my needle up through the right bead of the previous unit, that one that we're going to share, and give a little tug. I'm going to pass through the top bead and the right bead of this current unit, unit that I just added. And now I'm going to pass through the bottom bead of the next unit. So that will be the next 11-0 sitting between 2 RounDuo Minis. Pick up 2 more of my 11-0s and down through the right bead of the previous unit, through the bottom and the right bead of my current unit, and give this nice little pull as you go along, just to cinch everything together. 2 more 11-0s. And through the bottom bead of the next right angle weave unit, as well as the right bead of the previous. Through the top and the right of the current unit. And now from here, I'm going to repeat the steps that I've already followed to continue adding units all the way around until I get back to the beginning here. So now I'm in a position here to go through my next bottom bead of the next right angle weave unit, and I'm going to continue here by picking up 2 more beads and going through that right bead of the previous. So continue following this pattern here until you get back to the beginning, and I'll show you how to connect the first right angle weave unit and the last one. I'm now in position to add my very last right angle weave unit. My thread is in position here, coming out of the right hand 11-0 here, and I'm going to pick up 1 more of my 11-0s to be the top of the next unit, and I'm going to share the left bead from this very first right angle weave unit that I made to be the other side bead that I need. So I'm going to just take this 1 11-0 and use that to connect those 2 other 11-0s to the right and the left. And I'm going to pass through my last 11-0 here at the bottom that does not have a right angle weave unit on top. And as I pull these beads together, this will help form that last unit. Now to complete this, I'm just going to go up through my left side bead, that one that I'm sharing, and that will just help pull everything where it needs to be, and then I should have all of my units complete. The the next step here, the next thing I need to do to complete this right angle weave section is simply to take my needle and thread and pass through all of the top beads that are sitting at the very center of my circle here. So I'm going to have 8 of my 11 seed beads that are the top beads in those right angle weave sections. And you'll know that they are the top beads because they are sitting directly above each one of the bottom beads. That is the 11 sitting between the two, sitting between 2 RounDuo Minis. So as I go through here, I'm just picking up each one of those 11s, and they're the 11s that are the innermost 11s in the pattern. And you should have 8 of those. Go around a couple times and that will give you the structure, the strength, the leverage to keep everything nice and tight, and you'll have a nice foundation for your cabochon. Once you've gone through all of these 11s, all of those 8 11s at least a couple times, we're going to follow our thread path. And it doesn't really matter which beads you pass through, just follow your thread path through the 11s until you get to one RounDuo Mini. And you're going to pass through that RounDuo Mini. And now we're going to go through the outside hole of the RounDuo Mini, the one that we haven't used yet. And we're going to pass through that. So you'll see on the side here, I have some thread. I have this crystal thread, so it's harder to see, but I have a thread now going from the bottom to the top hole, or the outside hole of my RounDuo Mini. So once you've got this part done, we're going to move on to the next part and start embellishing and working on the outside. We're going to continue working on the bezel by going around the outside now of our RounDuo Minis. Coming out of one of those open holes of the RounDuo Mini on the very outside, I'm going to pick up 2 of my 11 seed beads and pass through to the next RounDuo Mini. And continue this all the way around. Just picking up 2 of those 11s until you get all the way back to the beginning. Next, we're going to pick up a 15 and add that in between each of these sets of 2 11s that we just added. I'm coming out of my RounDuo Mini here, and I'm going to pass through just the first 11 and pick up a 15. So at this point, you're going to get your 15s out if you don't already. I'm picking up just one 15 here and passing through the next 11. So that 15 is going to sit above the thread that runs between the 2 seed beads here. I'm going to pass through my RounDuo Mini again, through the first of my 11s, one 15, and through the next 11. And again, that 15 is just going to sit right on top of that thread that's running between the 2 11s. Continue all the way around, and then we'll start working on getting our bezel situated there in the center. After adding all of my 15s to my sets of 2 11s, I'm going to start working again sort of towards the center of the design. So I'm going to pass through my RounDuo Mini again, going through one of those holes on the outside, and then making that little U-turn in the bead and going through the hole towards the center of the project. keeping this keeping this on my mat here. I want my thread needle to go then pass through my 11-0 that is sitting between the RounDuo Minis. So we're going to build another section or another little bit of right angle weave off of this same bead here where we've built our first right angle weave section here in the middle, but we're going to build it going upwards instead of staying flat. And it's going to be a little bit different because we're not going to actually connect all of these sections. We're just going to create sort of like a little picot trim almost. I'm going to, coming out of one of my 11-0s here, pick up another 3 11-0s. And I'm just going to go through that 11-0, that same 11-0. And if you can go through the RounDuo Mini next to it, go ahead and do that as well. If not, do those in 2 steps. It's going to be a little tricky, so take your time with this step because we've already passed through these 11-0s once, so you've got some thread going through there and it might be a little bit harder to get your needle through. So I'm going to pass through, like I said, that next RounDuo Mini and through the next 11-0. I'm going to pick up 3 more of my 11-0s and I'm going to wrap around, pass through that same 11-0 there at the bottom. So you can see here we're adding those sets of 3 beads to each one of the 11-0s, but we're not sharing any of the beads, so it's not really a true right angle weave. It just sort of has that look to it. And again, pass through the RounDuo Mini here and through the next 11-0. 3 more seed beads and through that 11-0. So I've gone through 3 of my beads so far. So I've got another 5 here and then I'll have all 8 done. I'm going to go ahead and finish that and then we'll start making this into a bezel that will start to hold our cabochon. After I have all of my prongs completed, all of these little like mock right angle weave pieces, these are now going to be facing upwards and they become prongs. And you can see here if I put my 10mm cabochon in the center here, you can see how these prongs are now going to start to fold over the edge of that cabochon and allow it to stay in place. So go ahead and put your cabochon in the center there and make sure all the prongs are sticking out to the sides. You don't accidentally catch a prong under your cabochon and they're not twisted. We're going to now connect all of the prongs with a series, or just with a pair of 2 11-0 seed beads. So I'm coming out the top here of the prong. That's the second bead in the set of 3 that I was picking up, and it's that very top prong or very top bead. And I'm just going to pick up 2 11-0s and then pass through the next prong and through that center or top bead of the next prong. And again, 2 more seed beads and through the next prong. And as we go all the way around, we'll have a nice little wall of seed beads here that's going to help hold this cabochon in place. After connecting the top of each one of your prongs, continue through all of the 11-0s at the top, through the top of the prongs and the 11-0s that you added in the last step, and pull tight as you go. This row of seed beads here should be enough to hold the cabochon in place. And if we go through these seed beads and give it a pull as we go, we'll tighten up the very top row here so that it does cinch around that cabochon and give it a nice bezel here. So now the next thing that we're going to do is add some embellishment with some of our 2mm crystals. So get some 2mm crystals out here. And now the embellishment on these crystals is going to run a little bit at an angle. What we're going to do here is we're going to start on our very top row of seed beads, and I'm going to pass through the set of 2 seed beads, the pair that I was picking up at the top. I'm going to pass through the set of 2 seed beads, and you'll know that it's that set of 2 because it's sitting above the 11-0 to the right and left. The 11-0 to the right and left of it should be somewhat sunken down, so you can tell that you're running through that pair. And here I'm going to pick up one 15-0, one of my crystals, and another 15-0 seed beads. We're picking up 15-0 seed beads. I'm going to pass through the 15-0 seed bead here at the very base when I embellished and added that 15-0 seed bead between the 2 11-0s. That is the 15-0 that I'm going to pick up. And I'm going to pick up the 15-0 directly to the left of where I just added my crystal. And coming out that 15-0, I'm going to pick up another 15-0, another one of my crystals, and another 15-0. I'm going to go through the next set of 2 11-0s at the top, at the very top of the bezel, and give that a little pull. And you can see here that I've added 2 of those crystals. So now I'm going to pick up a 15-0, one of my crystals, and another 15-0. Pass through the 15-0 at the very base. Pick up another 15-0 crystal and a 15-0. And pass through the next pair of 11-0s at the very top of the bezel, and make sure that that 11-0 sits, or sorry, that crystal sits correctly so that it is not overlapping with the one next to it. And I'm going to continue adding the rest of my crystals and 15-0s until I get back to the beginning. After adding all of my crystals, I'm ready to start working on the band. So here I've got my finished bezel, and I really enjoy how blingy it is, but it's not very large. It's a nice, compact, blingy crystal ring. And you see quite a bit of the center cabochon here, which I really like. So here what I'm going to do to create the band is to simply go through one of my RounDuo Minis here. So you want to make sure that your thread is now coming out of one of the 11-0s next to that RounDuo Mini. And we're going to go through the very outside or top hole of that RounDuo Mini. Pick up 3 of your 11-0 seed beads and go back through the hole in that RounDuo Mini in the same direction. And that will pull those 3 seed beads so that it goes around and sits on the outside of that RounDuo Mini. I'm going to now pass through those 3 seed beads. And through that RounDuo Mini again, because I want to reinforce the connection here. And if you need to add new thread, this is actually a good place to do that. And back through those 3 11-0s. So from this point on, I'm just going to work with a simple ladder stitch to make a band the length I need it to fit my finger or whoever's finger I want it to sit on. Pick up 3 more of these 11 seed beads and go back down through that set of 3 that sit next to the RounDuo Mini. And as you pull, the new set of 3 will sit directly next to your previous set. You're going to go up through the new set of 3 and pull that thread tight. Pick up a new set of 3 and back through the previous set. So this is just a simple ladder stitch, and you can check out some other videos on ladder as well if you've never done this before. And I'm going to continue this way until I get this band to the length that I need. I've now made my ladder stitch band the length that I need it to wrap around my finger. So now what I'm going to do is just simply attach this end here back to the bottom of the bezel on the other side. You're going to identify the RounDuo Mini here directly across from the one where we started, and that's where we're going to attach the band. So flip your band over and just make sure that it doesn't have any twists in it, so it's flat. And we're simply going to go through the outside hole of that RounDuo Mini, through the last 3 seed beads of our ladder stitch, and through the hole of the RounDuo Mini again. And this is again just to reinforce this connection point, since we don't want our ring to fall off while we're wearing it. So I like to reinforce things. And go through the 11 again. You can reinforce one more time if you want, but I think 2 is plenty. And now if you want to also reinforce the band, you can take your needle and thread, and without adding any beads, just simply go up and down through all of these rows of seed beads, adding some more thread in here. And as you go through a second time, it's also going to pull all of these beads a little tighter together, where maybe your first pass through on the on the ladder stitch, maybe you had your beads a little loose, or there was a little slack in there. So I'm going to go through this again, and then I'll just get to the other side and tie off my thread. So there we have it here, and I put up my pinky here to not cover my wedding ring there. But there we have it. There is our final bling ring. Thanks for checking out this video and making this 10mm cabochon ring with me. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out some of the other videos on our channel here and go ahead and subscribe. You can also turn on the notifications so you know every time that we post a new video for something else that you may enjoy just as much.